Aloha kakahiaka, everybody. It's 9:31 a.m. Will the Committee on Budget please come to order? I'd like to welcome Committee Vice Chair Nishimoto and Councilmember Kia'aina. Councilmembers Cordero and Wire are excused for the, oh, here comes Councilmember Wire. So Councilmember Cordero is excused for the time being. She'll be joining us a little bit later. We also have with us Councilmember Tolba. I don't see any council members participating remotely. So pursuant to Section 92-3.7 Hawaii Revised Statutes, this meeting will be conducted as a remote meeting by interactive conference technology with the following procedures in effect for the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items on the agenda in two ways, remotely and in person in the council chamber. Remote and in-person oral testimony will be allowed when the agenda items taken up. As both English and Hawaiian are official languages of the state of Hawaii, pursuant to Article 15, Section 4 of the Hawaii State Constitution and Section 1-13 of the Hawaii Revised Statutes, members of the public may testify in either language. For oral testimonies offered in Olelo, Hawaii, additional time as may be necessary will be allowed for the testifier to provide an English translation of their testimony. Before testifying, each person shall state their name. Each speaker may not have anyone else read their statement and is limited to a 1-minute presentation on each item. All persons who have registered to testify remotely by video conference will be called upon first. When your name is called, please monitor your screen and activate your audio feed when prompted. I'll then give persons who have not registered an opportunity to offer testimony. Please use the raise hand feature in Zoom to be called upon. For those joining us by telephone only, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. I'll identify you by the last 3 digits of your phone number, and when your number is called, please press *6 to unmute. Some friendly reminders and tips. Please video conference from a quiet location if possible. If you're watching the proceedings on Olelo, please mute your television at the time you're called to testify. When the timer on screen reaches 0, please conclude your remarks promptly. Once all the remote testifiers have testified, I'll proceed to in-person testimony here in the chamber. And again, persons who have not registered will be given an opportunity to speak following the oral testimonies of the registered speakers. HRS Section 92-3.7 requires all votes at remote meetings to be conducted by roll call unless unanimous. Therefore, I'll first call for objections, and if there are any, I'll call for a roll call vote. Written testimonies, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number, will be available to the public as described in the posted agenda. And as a courtesy, please turn off all cell phones. Members, we do have 2 agenda items today. Without objection, if there's no objection, I will be taking them in reverse order. So we'll start with agenda item number 2, just because the flow will make more sense that way. Sensing no objection, we will take up agenda item 2 first. And agenda item 2 is resolution 25-74, authorizing the execution of a ground lease with Komohale Westlock Venture LP to develop an affordable rental housing project at 91-1666 Renton Road, Ewa Beach, Oahu, Hawaii 96706, TMK number 191122004. Members, we do have a posted proposed CD1 submitted by myself. For your information, the amendments are listed on the agenda. We do have 1 registered testifier for resolution 25-74. Ms. Young, would you like to testify? You are registered for this item.
The developer is not in the public meeting space. I was very excited.
Oh, and if you could introduce yourself.
Yeah, Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of CARES, and one day as a real estate agent because I'm still in training. And very excited about that development because the developer is also the developer for the Aloha Stadium, which has a joint venture partnership that utilizes shared resources to maximize accommodations for the city and all citizens. So the developer is incredible, and I'm in support of the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions for the testifier? Okay, hearing none, thank you very much. Clerks, is there anyone else here in the chamber who'd like to testify or anyone online waiting to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, hearing none, I do understand we have a representative from Stanford Car Development here. If anyone would like to present. Okay, Office of Housing in that case.
Aloha and good morning. Budget Committee Chair Dos Santos-Tam, Vice Committee Chair Nishimoto, and honorable council members. Resolution 2574 will authorize the city administration to execute a ground lease with Komohale Westlock Venture LP to develop an affordable housing rental project on city-owned land parcel in Eva Beach. The project, called Kala'ima'o Village, is being developed by Stanford Car Development, LLC, in partnership with Standard Communities. The project will consist of 126 rental units for low-income households earning at or below 60% of the area median income. The city is also supporting this development through an allocation of over $30 million in multifamily housing revenue bonds, also known as private activity bonds. Making vacant or underutilized city lands available for affordable housing development through public-private partnerships is one of the Blangiardi administration's key strategies to increase housing supply on Oahu. The solicitation of this parcel in Eva Beach was issued just over 6 years ago. This timeline conforms with the average timeline of 5+ years for solicitation to ground lease of city-owned properties to private partners to construct affordable housing under Chapter 38 revised ordinances of Honolulu. In mid-February 2025, the Department of Land Management submitted proposed amendments to Chapter 38 for council consideration. We understand the proposed amendments are under review, and we look forward to working with the City Council to make appropriate amendments to Chapter 38 to streamline the leasing process, to provide greater flexibility in working with private partners, and most importantly, to more quickly facilitate the delivery of much-needed affordable housing on Oahu. We appreciate the City Council's support of the Kala'ima'o project and our collaborative efforts as we work together to increase affordable housing opportunities for Oahu residents. With that, Budget Committee Chair Dos Santos-Tam, I'd like to bring up Stanford Car Development.
Sure, and before you bring someone up, if you could just state your name for the record.
Well, that's probably a good idea. My name is Kevin Auger. I'm the Executive Director of the Mayor's Office of Housing.
Okay, thank you, members. Any questions for Executive Director Auger? Okay, hearing none, we'll have a representative from Stanford Car Development.
Good morning, Budget Chair Dos Santos-Tam and honorable council members. Thank you for arranging this special meeting. Thank you, Director Tashner and Bond Administrator Kings, for your hard work in getting these resolutions to this point.
And if you could introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Stanford Carr, and I'm a project manager for the West Loch Affordable Rental Housing Project. Here today in regards to Resolution 25-73 regarding the authorization of the issuance, sale, and delivery of multifamily housing revenue bonds, and Resolution 25-74 regarding the ground lease execution. In light of this, I'd like to present a brief overview to illustrate how this project will deliver much-needed affordable rental housing to the Eva Beach community. If you would like to refer to slide 1. As you can see by the title of my first slide.
Do we have, let's see, do you have the slides up?
Sorry, not. Apologies.
Okay, no problem.
You got it? Sorry. Sorry, I saw you guys with your pamphlets.
Okay.
So I thought that's how it was going to go. My bad.
And while they get this up there, it is can be found online as miscellaneous communication 148.
Thank you. Yeah, you want to yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Okay,
All right. So slide 1, as you can
please
see.
proceed.
As you can see by the title of my first slide, our project will be officially named Kala'ima'o Village after the Mao lei. Mao is a species of cotton plant endemic to Hawaii that boasts beautiful yellow flowers, as shown on the slide above. Next slide, please. The partnership responsible for the vision and execution of this project is comprised of Standard Communities, which has over a decade of experience owning, acquiring, renovating, and developing affordable rentals across the nation, and Stanford Car Development, a local real estate developer with over 30 years of experience here in the islands. Together, we have collaborated to deliver this project under the entity of Komohali West Loch Venture LP. Next slide, please. So here's an aerial view of a rendering of what the project will look like upon completion. The site where the project will be built is currently vacant. Next slide, please. This vicinity map illustrates the area's surrounding amenities and land uses. Future residents of Kala'ima'o will be able to enjoy their proximity to a Sing community park and feel right at home given the area's predominantly residential usage as evidenced by the neighboring communities. Next slide, please. Kalei Ma'o Village will consist of 7 3-story residential buildings and 1 community building. The community center is located centrally, as you can see. Adjacent to the community center is a tot lot for children to play, as well as a community garden for residents to enjoy. The project will result in the creation of 127 affordable housing rental units. We recently received our building permit approvals, so construction will commence upon closing and is expected to be completed by the end of next year. Next slide, please. So this slide gives you an idea of what a typical floor plan will look like, a mix of different unit types on each floor. Units will feature wood cabinets, quartz kitchen countertops, vinyl plank flooring in the kitchen and living rooms, and carpeted bedrooms. Each unit will have PTAC ACs in the living and bedrooms, a refrigerator, oven and range, vertical blind window coverings, and mirrored wardrobe doors. Next slide, please. The project's unit mix will consist of 28 1-bed, 1-baths, 87 2-beds, 1-baths, and 12 3-beds, 2-baths. 119 of these units will be made available to residents that qualify under the 60% area median income, while the remaining 7 will be made available to residents that fall under 30% AMI. For example, the 1-bed, 1-bath monthly rent would start at $783, further adjusted for utility allowance for a household of 2 earning $33,000 annually. And for a 3-bedroom unit, rent will be up to a monthly rent of $2,172 for a household of 4 earning $83,000 annually. 1-bed and 1-bath unit will be reserved for an on-site manager to live in. Next slide, please. This is a rendering of what it will look like upon entering the completed project. The building's exteriors will be comprised of fiber cement siding, and the apartments will be served by solar water heating. The building will be up to 35 feet in height. Next slide, please. This is another rendering illustrating what one of the residential buildings will look like with the community center behind it. Next slide, please. The project will feature the following amenities: bicycle storage, a community garden, a community building which will house a kitchen, laundry room, restrooms, and a manager's office. There will be an area for picnics on site as well as a playground. With that said, that is the conclusion of my segment, and now I'd like to pass the mic over to the Executive Director of Komohali Services, Pamela Whitty-Oakland. Komohali Services is a nonprofit organization that Stanford Car Development created to provide residents access to much-needed housing and human services. Thank you, Chair Dos Santos and honorable council members for your time and attention. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Dos Santos-Tam, council members, Pam Whitty-Oakland, Executive Director, Komohali Services. We partner with all of the Stanford Car Development properties, and we're a nonprofit with a mission to provide education, vocation, and lifestyle resources so that our residents can become their own personal best. And we do that by partnering with local nonprofits, names you're gonna know, Goodwill. I ran out of battery. All of the local nonprofits, we collaborate with them. We match their missions with our demographics to deliver programs and opportunities on property. And I'm just gonna let the pictures speak 1,000 words here. These are photos of our keiki programs. We're on the Big Island on the bottom right, providing school supplies. The bottom middle is one of our residents at Kekulani Courts in Kapolei. We provide, on our website, they just register every month and we give away a $50 Foodland gift card. Just a little omiyagi for their awareness of who we are. We want them to know who we are and we want them to participate. Some of the other photos show our keiki doing Christmas tree ornaments and Easter egg events. The next slide will show you some of our kapuna programs. We do Christmas dinners, we do Halloween costume programs, always striving social engagement and cognitive stimulation. We partner specifically with Lanakila Pacific Meals on Wheels, Catholic Charities, again, Project Vision, to provide the kapuna outreach. Happy to answer any questions. These are the guys with the expertise on the development, and I'm here representing the program side. So thank you very much for your time today.
Okay, thank you. Members, any questions for Ms. Whitty-Oakland? Maybe we'll start with her. Okay, the only question that I have is, within your programs, are there any Do you anticipate serving residents with special needs, disabilities, either physical or?
So to clarify, we do not provide direct services, and we do collaborate with any needs that may be necessary for the folks who live on our property. So we would definitely make those connections to Department of Health or whatever other developmentally disability program, and we just have a network of resources that we collaborate with. But
Okay, great. Members, any other questions? Okay, and then any questions for Mr. Carr about the project itself? Councilmember Toba.
Look, I'm excited. I think I last saw this presentation like 3 years ago, and because it's in my district, I know it's much needed. So I'm excited to see this thing move forward finally and bring a lot of help and services also to the people in my community. So thank you.
Okay, I'd like to welcome Councilmember Cordero to the chambers. Members, any other questions?
Chair. Oh.
Okay, Councilmember Kiana.
I just have a question for actually the Executive Director of the Department of Housing, because I'm clearly impressed with this project, both on the development side as well as the programmatic side, and I'm jealous, and I would love to have that in my district, and I know that Councilmember Toba has more land availability for such projects, but you know, I'm just hoping that when we follow up with our one-on-one meetings, you could help in the identification of city properties in my district. It's going to be a little harder in Waimanalo, but let me tell you, there's a lot of state land. And I just was thinking as I'm looking, and I thank you guys for your presentation, and I'm so excited for the people who are going to be living here, and I'm thinking there's so many families in Waimanalo who would love to have a project like this, and there's a lot of state lands, and they're not private lands. They are state agricultural lands. And while that is important, you know, we have to balance sometimes. Is the personal happiness of an individual leaseholder more important than the collective for housing? I just think we have to think about things like that, because there's a dire need. And we have a lot of homeless people who are in our parks in Waimanalo, along the beach side. And I still cringe every time I drive by there, because it's an accident waiting to happen, and a car will veer off into the road and hit the individuals who are in encampment there. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to exploring opportunities in my district. Kailua is a little maxed out. We have a couple of projects there, but I'm certain that in Kaneohe and Waimanalo, I'd like to see some opportunities. Kamehameha Schools owns a lot of land in Kaneohe, but maybe we can joint venture with them for affordable housing projects. You have any comments on that?
Kevin Auger, Executive Director, Office of Housing. Thank you very much for those comments, Councilmember Kiana. I think it's a terrific idea, potentially partnering. You know, we do a lot of work together with the state. We're looking forward to partnering with them more aggressively going forward. KS Schools is a great idea, and we'll continue to consider that, and we look forward to working with you to identify sites in your district.
Honolulu would be the State Department of Land and Natural Resources, who happens to have a lot of land there. And as far as I'm concerning, a lot of these people are not having farming. Okay, so I'm just thinking we need to reevaluate both city and state lands and look at areas for opportunity for housing.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. And this question was for Mr. Carr or Ms. Woody Oakland, or both. And I know this particular resolution is multifamily housing revenue bonds, but as we're going through the budget right now, where Director Auger is doing really great work convening stakeholders, I'm just curious if you have any input for us since you're here, and just on how we can better support, or what the biggest needs in supporting projects like these would be, because I think that's something we're all kind of talking through as a body and as a city. So just wanted to give you the floor on that.
I'm going to defer to my Vice President, Kevin.
Okay, perfect.
Appreciate it.
And mahalo.
Hello, I'm Kevin Kasai, Vice President of Development for Stanford Car Development. I think, you know, supporting the development process for these projects would greatly help the developers in producing more affordable units. It did take us quite a while to plan and permit the project. It took us 2 years to actually get the building permit, which we just got a few days ago. So that would really help us a lot. And of course, gap funding would be helpful as well. So I think just the process and the funding would greatly help us in producing more homes. Thank you.
Okay, mahalo, appreciate that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, members. Any other questions? Just real quick, a few rapid fire ones for Mr. Carr. What's the underlying zoning of this lot?
It's agriculture, but we exercise a 201H
It's a
resolution.
201H.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you mentioned that your building permits are basically ready to go. How long did it take from submitting your building permit application to approval?
So I came onto the project a little later on in the process, so I'll defer to Kevin again.
Yeah, it did take us 2 years
Okay.
to get it through.
Thank you. Okay, that's it for me. Members, any last questions? Okay. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, this question is for, I guess, whoever will be able to answer this. I know that the Executive Director, Kevin Auger, mentioned that under Chapter 38, since this property was either purchased or this process started 6 years ago, and it's kind of in the same timeline of the 5 years for the city lease and rental agreements. So where do you see that process getting better through your experience?
Is this a question for the developer? We could probably save some time within just creating the development agreement, the processing of documents and so forth. The 201H process, I think it went pretty smoothly. And then, as I mentioned, the actual permit application process, just logging in, getting it through. We went through 8 rounds of comments, and that seems like quite a lot of rounds to go through.
Sorry, can you clarify 8 rounds of comments?
Yeah, 8 rounds of routing our construction drawings through the various departments.
Okay, thank you. And that was what took the 5 years?
Pardon?
Is that what took 5 years?
Yeah, that's part of the time period to get to building permits.
Okay, understood. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, members. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, thank you. We are in discussion. Any discussion? Okay, there being no discussion, the chair recommends that Resolution 25-74 be amended to the posted CD1 identified as OCS 2025-0189/3/6/2025 9:10 a.m. Any discussions, objections, or reservations to the recommendation to amend? Okay, hearing none, so ordered. The chair then recommends Resolution 25-74 CD1 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion, objections, or reservations to the motion to report out for adoption? Okay, hearing none, so ordered. We're going to turn back to agenda item number 1, which is Resolution 25-73. This authorizes the issuance, sale, and delivery of multifamily housing revenue bonds in a principal amount not to exceed $30,376,937 for the purpose of making a mortgage loan to provide financing to Komohale Westlock Venture LP, a Hawaii limited partnership for multifamily rental housing development, determining and prescribing certain other matters relating thereto, and approving and authorizing related actions in the execution and delivery of related documents and agreements. Members, we do have a posted proposed CD1 submitted by myself, and the amendments are listed on the agenda. We do have one registered testifier online for this item, Kathleen Orlandi, who I believe is online. Ms. Orlandi, please unmute and proceed.
Good morning. Thank you all very much, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the Committee on Budget. Kathleen Orlandi, a partner at Hawkins, Delafield, and Wood.
Oh, sorry, you're on mute. If you can unmute, we heard that part.
Okay, excuse me for that.
There we go.
Kathleen Orlandi, partner Hawkins, Delafield, and Wood, bond counsel to the city and county of Honolulu for housing bond matters. We bring before you the resolution that will allow the sort of nuts and bolts of the bond issue, allow us to publish and offer bonds for sale, publish an official statement, offer bonds for sale, sign a bond purchase contract. For those of you with whom I met for the prior multifamily projects, Jack Hall, Waipahu, and Mauna Kea Towers, a little over a year ago. This is very similar. This is the authorizing resolution that permits us to go forward with the sale and delivery and financing of the project. With that, I will entertain any questions.
Members, any questions for Ms. Orlandi? Okay, hearing none, thank you for your testimony. I see we have one testifier in the chambers. Angela Melody Young, please proceed.
Hello, Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of CARES in strong support. So the project developers have shown dedication and also in other projects to answering to senators and Ways and Means about financing options, and now this development to secure financing and also the authorizing of ground lease with minor modifications to continue the development contract is very necessary to help move this project forward to serve the Ewa Beach District, which will also help with development along the HART train, which is what they're planning for at the statewide level as a planning strategy to help develop these communities. And so with the developers, they have shown they're very caring for kupunas by addressing the fact there are urgent needs in the community to accommodate those health needs. And the development will help with reducing disparities for middle-class families, as well as providing planned communities and innovative amenities to help the marginalized demographics, especially the kupunas. So in strong support, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Members, any questions? Okay, hearing none, is there anyone else in the chamber who would like to testify from the public? Seeing none, clerks, is there anyone online waiting to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, seeing none, let's see, we do have a representative from the administration who would like to testify.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair Santos-Tam and Budget Committee members. My name is Elsa Kings. I am the Private Activity Bond Administrator at the Department of Planning and Permitting. I am joined here today by our Bond Counsel, Kathleen Orlandi, who introduced herself previously. I'm going to be, today we're asking for approval of the issuance of bonds for up to $30,376,937 in tax-exempt bonds from the city's 2022 and a portion of the 2023 federal volume cap. I'm going to provide a high-level overview of the multifamily rental housing program, and then I'm happy to turn it over for any questions that you might have for myself and Ms. Orlandi. The multifamily rental housing program is designed to provide financing through the sale of tax-exempt bonds to developers of residential rental projects for the development and rehabilitation of rental housing at interest rates and on terms that are more favorable than those that available in conventional sources of financing. The city obtains funds through these below-market interest and provides below-market interest through rates loans by issuing municipal bonds, which are purchased by private investors. In its role as the issuer of bonds, the city plays an active part in structuring each bond sale to ensure compliance with the provisions of state law and IRS code, which governs the issuance. To qualify for this program, projects must reserve at least 20% of their units for tenants whose incomes are 50% of area median income or less, or at least 40% of the units for incomes at 60% of the area median income. As you saw from the previous presentation, the Kaleamau project exceeds the requirements. In addition, the developer must agree to keep the project as an affordable rental for a minimum of 15 years. To ensure this requirement, the city will require the placement of an affordability covenant in the form of a regulatory agreement on the property. In addition to the leveraging of the private capital via the city's private activity bonds, the project will be utilizing the state's and the federal low-income housing tax credits and the state housing revolving fund to complete this project. I'm happy to take any questions from the committee members. Thank you.
Thank you, members. Any questions? Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you. Would you be able to explain or clarify again what part of the project exceeds, I guess, what would be their requirement? You said something, it exceeds. Would you be able to go through that part again?
Sure, thank you, great question. So the requirement for the financing is that at least 20% of the units have to be at 50% or less, or 40% of the units have to be at 60. So the project does provide 90% of the units at 60% and 5% of the units at 30% of area median income.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, members. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none. Thank you very much. We are in discussion, members. Okay, sensing no discussion, the chair recommends a resolution 25-73 be amended to the posted CD1 identified as OCS 2025-0194/3/6/2025 2:52 p.m. Any discussions, objections, or reservations to the recommendation to amend? Okay, seeing none, so ordered. The chair then recommends a resolution 25-73 CD1 be reported out for adoption. Any objection, reservations, or further discussion on that matter? Hearing none, so ordered. All right, members, we've gotten to the bottom of our special meeting agenda this morning. There being no further business, we're going to adjourn this meeting. Would you like to just go straight into budget, or should we take a brief 5-minute break? Brief. Okay, let's take a 7-minute break and be back at 10:10. Thanks, everyone.